What's up, everyone? This is Go Along with Dunne and Monos, back live from two ends of the country here, Jim. I'm here at 49 Coffee in beautiful Springville, New York. Thank you to the great folks here. This is kind of a home away from home. Get a lot of writing done here. And you're out in Vegas.
I'm in Vegas. Your setup looks like Vegas. That looks nice. Cheers. Yeah, we're both drinking coffee. I'm in Vegas.
Yeah, they have
What's
they
great
just
about Vegas,
opened this up in the
Tyler?
back.
We had some travel, so we're getting the pot. We're getting the talk about the NFL a little bit later than we usually do, due to work, do some work things. But what's better than waking up, talking football? I'm in the great hotel here in Vegas. Had to walk downstairs, get a couple hands of blackjack in, a cup of coffee. Now we got the go long breakdown.
I was gonna say it's what 4:48 a.m. out there. So you snuck in a few hands of blackjack that you got
Well,
the tables working that early,
I can't
late,
do this
early.
every,
I guess it
hey,
doesn't
Tyler,
matter.
we can't do this every day, right? Our lives aren't like
Yeah,
this. So
absolutely. Well, we should note Fattey Beer
fatty.
Company fueling us up. We're gonna be there. Well, I'll be there later in the week. We've got a very special guest. Hopefully your XFL schedule allows it. We're not sure yet if you'll be joining, right?
Yeah, we'll see if we can sneak one in. I need to get some questions to this guest.
Eric Wood. Eric Wood making his
Yes.
triumphant return to the Go Long Pod. So he's got a
One of
new
our
book out.
favorites.
And obviously, Eric always has thoughts on the Buffalo Bills and relives some the I was gonna say glory days. I don't think they're glory days for Eric Wood. They're days for sure. There were
Yeah,
days had.
that would be great if you phrased it that way, just to see what his reaction would be. Eric, tell us about your glory days in Buffalo. He'll be like, "What?
He'd li-
What years were those, Tyler? What were those?"
he always jokes that, like, when he retired and he ran into Josh Allen, I think at some golf event, and he knew he was going to be special, and it was just like, you son of a bitch,
You're
why
right.
why do I have to retire right now with this damn injury when we've got this quarterback coming to town and
Finally,
good times are around the corner, right?
it
But
is.
that'll be
It's
fun. Eric always brings the goods. So, and right now the Buffalo Bills are in a you know precarious state, to put it
yeah.
mildly.
Here we go. Yeah, this
What's
is
going on here? This has been 2.5 games of just
yeah.
troubling football for the hometown team. And now they're 6-3. They're not in first place in the division, let alone the conference. I think a lot of people here locally are wondering what the hell happened. More specifically, what the hell's happening after halftime, right?
That's the crazy part because this team has been good in the first half for years now. And that's a trend that I always pay attention to. And it's a good sign of a team that's just prepared. They're the better team. Usually they come out, dominate, they dictate the game. That's what I think the Bills usually do. And they're still doing it. And then the second halves just don't look right. I, there's a lot to dive into. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Josh Allen?
Absolutely have to start with Josh Allen
Yeah,
because, on a Super Bowl favorite, he's the MVP front
yeah,
runner.
I
He
agree.
is this you know, intergalactic, maybe the best physical specimen the position has ever
Sure.
seen. I mean, that's what Jordan Palmer believes as his private quarterback's coach. He knows him better than anybody, doing whatever he wants out there. Yet for whatever reason, he is showing those traits still. I mean, even up to that numbing interception in overtime, I mean, he had the two runs to get him down there. So you see it. It's mental right now. There's something. I don't want to hear about the elbow. The problem
Mm-mm.
for him is between the ears. There's something going on mentally with Josh Allen where, from the quarterback center exchange that even made this a game to the two interceptions that sandwiched that turnover. What's going on? We don't know. I mean, we had the Isaiah McKenzie last night at Misters, and we'll have that podcast episode up too. I think Isaiah is somebody who has gone through his own mental struggles, and he's been really open about it. So he can relate to that aspect of the game where there's something going on with Josh Allen that only Josh Allen really knows right now. I feel like we can try to figure it out on the outside looking in, and we'll give it a shot here. But I feel like he is what he is. He still is this uber talented quarterback that's unlike anybody in the league. But if you're just going to give the ball to the other team late in games, none of that other stuff matters. It really doesn't.
It's almost the first time where he's been So he's been spoiling the Bills organization fans for these last 3 years, really, of just he's been putting the team, he's the reason why they win. He's the reason why they win. All of a sudden, this is the first time I would say, okay, there's a little blemish on Josh now. Like this is the first time where he's probably feeling it. And we talk about this every week about the long season. That he's not the only one going through this in the NFL right now. There's a lot of guys. You heard Derek Carr's interview the other day with the Raiders, and just the deflating pressure that the quarterbacks feel to win, and they take it personally because they know they always get too much credit, they always get too much blame. But on this run right now, Josh knows he needs to. The good thing is, I think it's fixable for Josh. I mean, I know he'll battle through this. It's on him right now to battle through whatever he is, whatever it is he's not seeing or not trusting with his eyes on the football. He's not seeing things, and that's all there is to it. And I think what the interesting thing is, this is what you and I talked about his first year or two, that
Right.
we were noticing with him a little bit where, wow, he doesn't see things. He's taking chances. You can't make those types of mistakes. He got rid of those. All of a sudden they're back a little bit. And I think that might just be the nature of the position too. It's hard. It's such a long season. You're going to have these. Eric Wood will be a good guy to talk to about this too, as far as what do you do this part of the year? It's mid season. Your playoff quality team, but you still have to get there. You still have to win, the 10, 11 games to get in. Because it's crazy, Tyler, to look at the playoffs picture right now.
It is. He's the reason
He,
that we've all been talking about the Buffalo Bills, like we've been talking about the Buffalo Bills as this Super Bowl contender for the last 3-4 years. So I agree with the big picture. He's covered up probably a lot of issues that we don't even
yes,
see. I mean, he makes Sean McDermott look like a better coach.
makes
He
the
makes
running
Brandon
game look
Beane look
good
like
in
a better
stats.
GM. He makes
Yep.
the running game look better. He makes Stephon Diggs, and Diggs makes Allen. Don't get me wrong. I mean,
Goes
it's
both ways. I agree. Yep.
symbiotic there. But he does cover up a lot of mistakes. He does accentuate the talents of everybody around him. Yet that position is such where if you are in a funk like he's in right now, and I guess you'd rather this funk strike in mid-November than
Right.
January.
No
So
doubt.
that's probably the silver lining here is whatever he has to work through, he's working through it now. Um, but at the same time, I think the mistakes are just so odd where he's throwing it directly to the other team 3 games in a row. I mean, these aren't like interceptions where he's trying to thread a needle and it's just a great play by the defender. It is, what in the F are you looking at? It's
He,
strange. It's really strange. And I think
yeah.
that's kind of what blows people's minds right now is, like the last interception, okay, part of me gets it where he's like trying to make a play, but you shouldn't be trying to make a play there. Like that's Brett Favre, right? We grew up on Brett Favre. How many
It's
times late in games did you just see Favre just try to gun it across his body or gun it down? I mean, in that situation, he should have waited a split second and just dropped it off to Devin Singletary leaking out. There's nothing around Devin Singletary. Maybe he gains 10, 15 yards. Maybe you go in for the score. At the very worst, you're getting a field goal and a tie. I mean, that is the absolute last thing that needs to happen there. But the pick before that to Patrick Peterson, the first one to Patrick Peterson, was just like the pick we saw against the Jets, which was just like a pick we saw against the Packers, where it's like he's seeing a different game. I don't know. I mean, you've been around this game a long time. Have you ever seen a quarterback that talented make those kind of throws?
I think it's a matter of he's not trusting what he's seeing right now because he's proven that he is a good decision maker. And right now, this to me screams he's pressing. Like he wants to win. I have to make this throw. We have to score. I have to make this. And that's to me is when something slides where it was last game, I think that one in the flat, it looked like he threw it right to the defender. He was trying to hit Dawson Knox, a little dump off in the flat against Green Bay, I believe. And it looked like he threw it right to the linebacker, right? Hit him right in stride. If you watch the play, it was a really simple mistake. He thought Dawson was going to be wide open. Dawson he holds up the defensive end, lets him go, slips out in the flat. All Josh saw was he saw Dawson release him. He sees the end come in his face. So he just, boom, looks over. Dawson's got to be open because, the guy that was on, So he didn't see the linebacker from midfield buzzing all the way across the field. The linebacker was buzzing all the way across. He would have never seen it. His eyes went right to Dawson because he saw him release the end. Thought he had an easy dump off flat route. Linebacker was buzzing. He never saw it. Tough play. I don't want to crush him on that, but I'm just saying those are the types of things that get into your head then. Because now he's not, wow, I never saw that guy because he didn't. And as a quarterback, and you played it too, anybody that played quarterback, when you throw a pick and you're like, damn, I never saw that guy. We all done it. It gets to you a little bit.
Class D Ellicaville Eagles,
Right.
I won't make that comparison. I'll let you do it. But
Well, no, I'm just talking about in general. If you play quarterback, we've all thrown an interception, whether it's just playing football, whatever, where you're like, man, I never saw that guy. And you're just like, it makes you try, question yourself every play then.
That's probably what's most damning is Josh Allen's making the mistakes that Tyler Dunne might have made back in Section 6 Class D, where
I know I've
thrown it directly to the other team.
Everybody, I've done it. We've all done it. Like, man, I never saw that guy, and it's humbling, and it's hard to look the other guys. But you know what, Tyler? The other thing, there's a lot on Josh Allen right now with the absence of Mike. That secondary absence, Trey White, Poyer, and Hyde. That's a core leadership group for this team. And when they're not on the field, no matter what, if you're not on the field, it's hard to be a leader. And they need those guys.
Jordan Poyer probably made a few $million the other day, huh? He may have made a little bit of money.
It's regardless. He's feeling a lot. It's probably a lot because you don't have other guys that can say, "Hey, Josh will figure this out. Let's do this on defense. Let's get this right on defense right now." But they're going to battle. It's a long season. I'm not panicking yet because here it is. We're making the division looks crazy right now. It's the Jets are coming on, the Dolphins are coming on, but remember, it's a long season for everybody. And Miami's going to go through some tough things. The Jets are about to go through some tough things. It's just, this is the time of year. It's when do you go through it? How do you come out of it? Where's your health? Just keep paying attention to the health of every team. I think that's what's going to separate. Because I do think this Bills team.
But every team's hurt, Jim. Like, I hate using injuries as an excuse.
No, I'm with you.
Right?
I'm saying
the Vikings are down. Their cornerback, they got a third, fourth stringer, and they're Duke Shelley, punching the ball out of Dawson Knox late in the game. So I get it. Like, the Bills are hurt in the secondary, and Justin Jefferson went for 198, whatever he finished with.
No, that had nothing to do with
I don't know. I really have a hard time. I'm not going to blame the defense outright as the reason they lost because of the injuries, but I have a hard time just writing this off as, and like, that's where it does get tricky.
No, and I'm talking more about the leadership part of it, not the just for the Bills. Yeah. I agree with you. I never would use that because to me, every team's banged up, but for the Bills, like, that's going to separate them. That's where Josh doesn't have somebody right now to help him. I feel like because
I see what you mean.
Yeah. That's all. Just the leadership.
Who he misses? You know who Josh Allen really misses and the Buffalo Bills really miss, and this is going to piss off a lot of people. Cole Beasley, like peak Cole Beasley. I get it. By the end, he couldn't really run. He couldn't get much yak at all. He got old. I'm just saying when Cole Beasley was at his best, 2020 especially, when he's the best slot receiver in the game, I don't think it's a coincidence that Josh Allen was at his best, where he could trust what he sees. He did know where Cole Beasley was going to be. That presence in the slot, that player, I think that makes a very good quarterback elite. And I think we thought Isaiah McKenzie could be that player. I mean, in training camp, he dominated. I get it. He had some ball handling issues against Kansas City, and he was really open about it on the podcast this week. If people haven't heard it yet. But I think if you trust Isaiah McKenzie, and hey, I think he's in a good spot with his hands. That was a wintry mix there at Highmark Stadium against Minnesota, and he handled everything really well. He made some tough catches. I think you can trust Isaiah McKenzie. I just think it's a matter of going to him in those spots that you went to Cole Beasley, because if you have that slot receiver, it opens up so much in this passing game. I mean, Cole Beasley was unbelievable at his peak, and they need that player, because outside of Stephon Diggs, who is he really trusting right now? Gabe Davis has been so up and down. He was unbelievable against Pittsburgh. Outside of that game, it's been a mixed bag. Dawson Knox at tight end. you love it when he is catching game winners against the Chiefs, but you probably want him to box out Duke Shelley and make that play some way, somehow. I don't know. I get it. This is an Isaiah friendly production, but Isaiah could be that guy. I mean, he could be that guy on the field. He could be that guy off the field where he's been through mental shit that he had to work through. And whether it's Denver giving up on him right out of the chute when he can't hold on to the ball, to Buffalo last year, basically made out to be the scapegoat after you get run over by Jonathan Taylor and the Colts, and he's inactive and he's banished and he thinks his career might be over. Works through that, has the big game against New England at New England. To this year, there's been some ups and downs. Maybe offensively it comes down to Isaiah McKenzie. You know, X's and O's off the field in the locker room. They need something on offense. They really do, because they're in a rut.
I heard a great, well, and we'll get into the head coach here in a second, because I do think, I do believe that coaching matters, especially when you have leads in games. I always feel like that's a bad sign when you're blowing second half leads. And this is happening now a little bit. And the coaches don't play the game, so you can't blame, but they also can always say, can you stop the bleeding? Like, you always can see that second half, like where it's going to go, where it's getting a little crazy. Momentum might be switching. But how about that game, though? Real quick, I don't want to take credit for this comment, but I was listening to another show I listened to, but they were talking about, here's one of the greatest, like, that game was insane with the Diggs' catch, Jefferson's, all the athletic plays.
Diggs' drop, too. Diggs' drop.
Now, good
big
one
drop
that people aren't talking about. And a game comes down to two quarterback sneaks, and neither team, and nobody can do it. Nobody knows how all these athletic plays, and we can't do it, and we can't get a quarterback sneak. Can't even get the snap. Either
Isn't
team.
that amazing?
Vikings too.
That's such a great point, Jim. I definitely want to get into the head coach as well, but let's talk about the quarterback sneak. You know, I hate talking about high school football. Back in the day,
I do too.
I loved running a quarterback sneak, right? The pig pile, we call it, where you just had a great center. He was my best friend in high school. I mean, that was, if we wanted to set the tone, it was pig pile against Randolph. Let's just get 4 or 5 yards and just beat the hell out of these guys.
And it's funny.
Yet that's part of Tom Brady's greatness.
He always been good at that.
His quarterback sneak is all time. He's an all timer when it comes to a play that seems so simple, right? Just get the ball from the center, move forward, and, you know, as an offensive line, just basically tilt the defensive line downhill. But it's not that. He makes it look easy, but it's not. Aaron Rodgers never runs quarterback sneaks. Never. He doesn't. He refuses to. Does a lot of things well. And hey, he had a hell of a game against Dallas, and they had a great formula. So we don't need to go down that road. But I'm just saying, here's a Hall of Fame quarterback in Tom Brady who has managed to figure out the quarterback sneak and just get every 4th and 1 that you can imagine. And here's a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who doesn't. And then here's NFL Sunday where Kirk Cousins can't get in from the inch line. Josh Allen can't get the ball from Mitch Morse, and Harrison Phillips. What a play by him to just torpedo down the middle and get everybody caving backwards. So then Eric Hendricks just fall on the ball. It's a play we take for granted that I wonder how much teams really practice it, because there's less and less contact. How many teams are actually going to practice a quarterback sneak in training camp? Nobody, right? Nobody wants to put their quarterbacks in harm's way, but it is something that you do need in these situations. Like, the game was just decided by 2 quarterback sneaks, but you're not going to practice it. No. Maybe you should. I don't know.
No. I always wonder,
how
like,
do
Brady,
you get ready for that situation?
Brady grew up under center more, you know. I hate to say, like, think about his age, but when Brady was coming up in football, he played under center. These guys don't play under center anymore. So it's hard.
Part of it.
It is hard. Like a guy like Josh, I don't know how much Josh Allen's ever played under center. So when you I think that it amps up when you're on that goal line too. When when you start thinking you have to just get the snap,
Damn. But if you've got a badass center and you need 3.5 inches, of course you should do a quarterback sneak, because you don't even want to take a step backward to hand the ball to the running back. You're just
It's the right
man,
call.
it's a
That's
weapon.
not,
It's
not the
such
that's not the
what an
problem.
underrated element to the Patriots' greatness for 2 decades.
It's like a quarterback sneak. Now it's like with Cam Newton or like Justin Fields. You just the quarterback sneak for them is a direct shotgun and just get it and run, start
Yeah.
running straight ahead as the ball's in the air and use your. But point being, you put Fields. Can you imagine trying to stop Justin Fields on a quarterback sneak? Really, like that? You're not doing it. Josh Allen's the same way. There's no way you're stopping Josh Allen on a quarterback sneak. It takes a fluke fumble.
So in the morning after column, I kind of went Vikings centric with the written word because I knew we'd go Bills centric here on the podcast. And I
Yeah,
think the Minnesota Vikings are
you you've
Super
been
Bowl
you were on them
contenders.
all week. Yep.
Felt that way for a while, but here's what I wrote, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Jim, because you've been around many coaches. You hired this coach. You've been around a few. So I said, we can certainly assign a healthy amount of blame to the head coach. Sean McDermott has developed quite a knack for losing close games. And if Bill Belichick is the king of eliminating the opposition's best player, well, McDermott was the polar opposite on Sunday. He had 0 answers for Jefferson. So I think that this game is on Allen more than anybody because he is your best player. He's the MVP candidate, and he had just 3 crushing
I agree
turnovers.
with that.
But on the flip side, for a long time, he has covered for his head coach, and the head coach is not blameless in this game where, yeah, you're banged up in the secondary, but, so are the Vikings. They're down to Duke Shelley at corner. And Justin Jefferson just did whatever he wanted to against your secondary, which is your specialty. He's coached up those corners, game in and game out, and 0 answers for Jefferson, 0 answers for just crunch time situational football where the game is won. You get the goal line stop. I somehow, some way, just own that situation. It's on Allen for not taking the center exchange, but I don't know. Is any of that on coaching? Should they have done something else there?
No, I don't think. I feel like that. No, no. I think we'd have to dissect the game more for some coaching, maybe questioning
Right.
some. Not that one.
I know
That
because
one's.
on the broadcast they're like, well, do you take a safety? I don't
I
think
heard
so.
that
I think
too.
I think he did the right thing there.
I do too. It's a sneak. I mean, get the snap. We're not even.
If he gets
Yeah,
the snap and he falls forward, it's game over.
game over. So I have a tough
Um,
time with that one, but
but
I'm with you. Like the field goal stuff now.
elsewhere,
Some of those decisions those can be talked about.
the
Sure.
4th and 2 when you're up
Yeah.
27-17,
Yeah.
fourth quarter, do you kick the field goal there or you go for it?
I feel like you have to stay consistent a little bit on how you've been calling games. And that's what your team, I think the Bills expect to go for those now. I feel like they've done that. I feel like Sean's established that as a head coach where they've become aggressive, I feel like. I thought
Mhm.
we were always questioning would Sean, can he be aggressive and go for it and the whole trend and there's that fine line between going for it and being smart.
Yeah,
But the Bills are
I
I
agree.
mean
So he and I agree. I'm with you. That's why I'm kind of going through these where I think he deserves some blame for losing another close game. It's just a matter of figuring out, okay,
yeah, I'm
where
not
where
yeah.
where did he go wrong? So
Like I
I think
can't sit there and say that's the you should have done. Like no,
no, because we'd be killing him if he kicked it, right? I
that's
mean,
how
be
I feel.
aggressive,
That's
and
how I
he's
feel.
right.
Yeah,
He said he wanted to be aggressive. I trust
yep.
our quarterback. I trust our
I,
players. So
yeah.
2 seconds left from the Vikings 11. They are. I get it. Kick the field goal, get to overtime, reset, take a deep breath. This game is batshit crazy. But if you're going to be consistent, and do you go? I mean, should he have gone for it there?
So, that's
I was
those are the
texting my
well,
college roommate, like he's a big Eagles fan, and he's always on these coaches across the league for not being aggressive. Jimmy Paul, great dude, listener of the podcast, and
where's he from?
inst
Where's he from? Like
Bethesda, Maryland.
and he's an Eagles fan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? It's crazy. We met in college, history class, Syracuse. It was funny. We still laugh about it. Like day one, Johnny Flynn, Rick Jackson, like all these Syracuse players were in our
Yeah,
class.
I remember.
And
Yeah,
then the next day, we just see all those basketball players just get up and leave, and they weren't there the rest of the semester. And we're thinking, did they get a grade, or did they drop that class, or did they manage to get a grade?
they did just fine.
Oh my God, that was a fun lecture. But anyways, like he's really smart when it comes to NFL coaches, and he is adamant. He thinks, okay, he should have gone for it there. And I didn't really think about it, but hey, if you're going to be consistent, if you're going to be aggressive, maybe you do. Maybe that's a spot. Maybe that's a reason you can't win close games. I, but then again, I probably still think you get to overtime. But there is a reason that this team just falls short late in games. 4th and 18, the Justin Jefferson play. I mean, Cam Lewis, is it all on Cam Lewis? Or is it on some of these coaches? Like, let these guys know in that situation, knock it down. Knock it down. An interception does you nothing. Maybe. So I guess it's kind of like a combination of all these little moments, all of these little plays. For some reason, they get late into the fourth quarter, overtime, and more often than not, they lose that game. Would that
Yeah,
concern you?
no, I feel like we're nitpicking, right? I was just thinking about this, how we just went through so many. I felt like every scenario we just went through, we were nitpicking. Like that was an insane athleticism, both players, Jefferson and Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like if he does nothing, if Lewis does nothing, I think that's an incompletion. I think he's the reason it was completed.
He helped him. He
He
helped
helped
him.
it because I don't think he's that. Regardless, it's just look what we're talking about. We're talking about these plays are insane. I mean,
Also,
so
it's like, I mean, 4th and 18, where's Kirk Cousins? He's gonna
how
just
about
force it to Justin
what about that
Jefferson.
other throw
So
Cousins
freaking put
made?
3, 4 guys on him. Put 4 guys on him. Do
That's
something, do
fine.
whatever you can. I know it's nitpicking, but
It is, but when you say put
that's a
three or four
spot.
guys on, right? Okay, put 3 or 4 guys on them. Now that's
Okay,
not really.
three, maybe not 4. 3. Put 3 on him. Triple
You see
coverage.
what I'm saying? Like it gets hard. I mean, the coverage was good, the
Is
call was
Kirk,
good.
is Kirk Cousins really going to throw to Thielen or Osborne or Hawkinson? And no, I think that's predetermined. I am like, screw it. Justin Jefferson's down there somewhere kind of play.
If that's the case, you just go up, press them. Just go ahead and just press them. Have somebody right over top and just eliminate them from the snap. But the that other throw Cousins made, he just dropped it right. I mean, perfect throw. I mean, those
Yeah.
throws are like it's crazy how the game is, how football.
Kirk Cousins was
And
incredible. He was
he was,
incredible.
he was.
The run, the 15-yard run
I
to get
feel
him
like
down
we're
there
gonna be.
that drive before laying out.
I feel like the Vikings fans, because you're tied in a little bit with that whole nation now. I mean, do they believe in him?
Yeah.
Like, do they believe in Cousins?
Yeah. I think so. I think so. I think that, that's the thing.
Like we sit here and we're
Even
like,
it,
we're nitpicking the Bills. Like, are the Vikings like? It's. I always think about that. Is he good enough to? Is he good enough to get to the Super Bowl? He is in the NFC.
look at the NFC.
No, he
Look at
is
the
in the
entire
NFC. He is.
conference.
I really don't think the
The
Vikings would
Eagles
even
just lost to the Commanders.
like. I don't think the Vikings would. I don't think they would even have a chance in the AFC with Cousins. I think it's that big
Really?
of a gap. Yeah, I do.
No, I've done a 180 on Cousins. I'm all in.
No,
Put that
I
ice
like
around his
Cousins.
neck, pop the
I like
top, pump a
I
fist.
like Cousins. I like
I,
Cousins. I have so much respect for these AFC quarterbacks right now.
well, you know what? Here's where Cousins has an issue. I'm really disappointed in Cousins that after they won their prior game and he's on the
Right.
plane and he's taking the
Right.
shirt off, and I was really hoping he'd ramp it up a notch. And he said that he's passing the mantle to someone else. Patrick Peterson,
I
he had the
saw it.
chain on the
He
plane.
had it now.
I was a little scared for what would happen. What's the next step for Kirk Cousins? Like,
Like,
what's he
where can
gonna
you go
do?
from that?
Right? Did you just take your pants off? Like, what's next? I was a little worried, but I was intrigued. I think we all were intrigued. Uh,
Smart moment by him. Smart moment. Let it go. Like, you're not going to recreate that. You can't recreate it. You can't make it better. You can't. You did it. Pass it on. Because I saw Heineke for Washington was doing it last night. Everybody was giving
yeah,
him all the. Yeah, I like it. Hey, have fun on the plane.
and back to McDermott, you're right. When
Yeah,
you really parse it, play to play, it's hard to pin this game on him. That's why it
I
comes back
agree
to
with
the
that.
quarterback.
I
I'm
agree.
just saying it's no coincidence that they find themselves in these close games, and more often than not, they lose these close games. It's some type of discipline just goes awry where, you're getting beat on 4th and 18 and, you lose it at your own goal line. And I feel like it adds up to a point where, my God, you're up 27-10. I mean, the Buffalo Bills have never lost a game in this stadium winning by 14 points or more after halftime. That's never happened before Sunday. And it did. Right? We're talking since the mid 60s.
Mm.
So something's wrong. It is interesting to hear him say we need to run the ball more. The weather's changing. I mean, that was his problem with Brian Daboll last season. He called out his offensive coordinator when they lost to the Patriots, and he there was something amiss behind the scenes there. And now he's, making it clear to Ken Dorsey that this is what I want to see as the head coach. Honestly, I kind of agree with. I mean, I feel like you have 3 good backs and you're winning by 17 points and you lose that game. So something's wrong there. I mean,
That's kind of what I was saying, where as a coaching, like he's not the offensive play caller as the head coach, but you need to enforce that
yeah.
somehow and say, look, hey, this is what I want. Somehow let's get this clock going. We're okay.
I mean, Nyheim Hines, you traded for him and you're not really using him.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. It's interesting how that happens. It is tough fitting guys in sometimes. You definitely have to have a plan and a vision for those guys. He'll figure it out.
One target,
It's
one
still
catch,
long.
9 yards, no carries.
So you know what this means for Hines. I would say I think we're going to get a good dose of him coming up.
Yeah, I mean, and James Cook looked pretty good when he gets his opportunity.
Okay, yeah, he looks okay to me. His running style, he runs a little upright for me, but he looks okay.
Yeah.
Singletary really has had a nice. You've been talking about him for a couple of years now since he's really worked to improve himself every year. But he's a good player, like we talk about. But he's not a big difference maker. But he's their best, I think.
He is, I think I really do. I can see both arguments, right? Where I can see when you have this big lead, lean into your backs, like just find a way to close out that game. Because like we said, historically, this is as bad as it's been, blowing a lead in Orchard Park, New York, since the stadium was built. But I could see the argument for pedal to the metal, go as far as Josh Allen takes you when outside of a 21-yard run for Devin Singletary, he gained 26 yards on 12 carries. So, what was Ken Dorsey thinking? Man, our best chance to win is just leaning on Allen and letting him run, letting him throw, forcing the ball downfield. That's why I'm kind of coming full circle. I think the key to this offense is that slot receiver, because that Cole Beasley-esque slot receiver is basically a run game, right? I mean, when you're hitting them for 6, 7, 8 yards a clip and you're moving downfield and you're rhythmic like you were in 2020, like you were late in 2021, that's kind of your run game. And they don't have that. I think that they could have that if they began to trust Isaiah McKenzie. Hey, Khalil Shakir has had some moments.
Yes.
Nyheim Hines, I mean, that's why you traded for him. His receiving ability, get him in the slot, somehow turn that short passing game into your run game, and don't go for the home run every time. I mean, that's why they lost the game. I mean, he's forcing it downfield when he doesn't have to force it downfield in overtime. He did not need to make that throw at all. So if you have that trust in McKenzie, that trust in Hines, that trust in Shakir, your tight end can be your best friend. If we learned anything from the blood and guts and Ben Coates for Drew Bledsoe and Dallas Clark for Peyton Manning, I mean, the tight end can be that player. I mean, 16 targets to Diggs. I get it. He's your best player out there, but incorporating some of these other players is probably the way to go. I mean, Davis is the wild card too. He's been pretty inconsistent. When he's on, he's on. But I think somehow leaning into those other complementary players could go a long way for the offense then. Did we just solve it? I think we just solved everything for the Bills.
Well, that's When you were saying all this, I was thinking basically to sum that up in my head, because I'm sitting there like, you're right. Basically, they need to find a way maybe to take a little bit off Josh right now, is
Yeah.
basically what I took from that. Somehow, whoever it is, can we just for right now, until he can get a little bit back to himself with the decision making, let's take a little pressure off him, because the fact that he is just running straight ahead in overtime is that's their offense. Josh Allen gets the snap and just gives a quick look. It's not there. I'm running.
Hard to argue with it too. But you're
But it
right. It's a
works.
lot on him.
But it's a lot on him. Yeah.
It's a lot on him. And it's as good as the getting is when he's playing that way. You mentioned Cam Newton earlier. I mean, I think after that 2015 season he had, I mean, just historic statistically,
Historic.
unbelievable what Cam Newton did.
Like, I
I mean,
thought it
I
was that.
remember
Yes.
I covered that Super Bowl against Denver, and there was no doubt in my mind that he would just obliterate the Broncos. I didn't care what Wade Phillips cooked up or that they had to keep Talib and DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller and, TJ Ward, all these bad. He was that good that season. I'm just looking it up here. They were 15-1, 3,837 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. His rushing yards. Let me pull that up.
So you just said a key thing. You
Perspective.
just said 10 interceptions for the thing. Josh Allen's at 9 right
Josh
now.
already has 10. He has 10.
Or 10.
Allen already has and 2 lost fumbles. And then Cam Newton had 636 rushing yards, 10 rushing touchdowns, and that's how you just win the MVP in a landslide. I'm going to pull up that voting too. Yeah. So that season, he had 48 votes. Tom Brady had 1. Carson Palmer had 1. So I think after that season, we all thought like Cam Newton is taking over the sport. And after that game or after that season, he just started going downhill instantly. He didn't make like forget all pro. He didn't make one more Pro Bowl.
No, it fell off quick.
I mean, he was done. Basically just fell off a cliff. I know they went 11-5 and 17, but other than that, I mean, he was an average quarterback from that point forward.
Right after that is when those he was never, because he does rely on his running, and once those injuries started adding up,
the hits. That's the point, right?
The hits.
It's cumulative. It adds up. It's not one specific knockout blow. It's all of the little hits that add up.
And the Bears better pay attention to that, because Fields, what he's doing, he's trying to do everything, but those hits, that one touchdown run he had, I don't know if I've seen a quarterback finish on the goal line and seeing the defenders going backwards, a linebacker. I think it was a linebacker, maybe a safety, but the way Fields is just plowing through guys, those are hits though. Those are collisions that your quarterback is taking, and it wore Cam down.
It could wear Josh Allen down too. They've got to be careful. I really thought that they would wait until December to unleash him as a runner. We talk about it every time. It's hard to just neuter that from his play style because it is so dangerous. But I think the point with Cam Newton is it does catch up to you. It just does. How many quarterbacks have lasted 14, 15 years taking those hits? Have any?
Hard to think about. It's hard to think about. Especially, even look at Russell Wilson now. I mean, not that he was known for running around, but he doesn't move anymore.
Just something to think about.
It is. It's all stuff to think about, and this is all the week 10, all the mids. This next stretch run is exhausting. Like, these teams are banged up and tired now. They haven't even started the hard part yet. This is why when you see teams celebrate in the playoffs, when you see teams celebrate a division win, before the postseason, hey, we won the division. You should celebrate that hard in the locker room after the game and that night, because it's hard. These guys work so hard physically and mentally. It's stressful. It's draining. And you're seeing how hard it is. The Bills, we know, are a very good football team, one of the best in the league. And right now they are fighting. Like, they're just trying to get a win right now.
I think it really just highlights the reality of a Super Bowl window. When you look at Cam Newton's career trajectory, and we all assumed after that 13-second
I
game at Arrowhead, oh my God, we're gonna have Allen versus Mahomes for the next decade minimum. You think that's the case? It's not always the case. I mean, things change in a
it's
hurry.
so
And right now, the Bills have a Super Bowl window open. And
they're in
this
it.
is a moment that they have to fight through. They have to figure it out right
Mm-hmm.
now because you don't know how long Allen is going to be this good. You don't know how long Stephon Diggs is going to be at the top of his game. Von Miller's obviously playing so well right now, but he's 33 and Father Time could catch up with him. You've got a window now. It just
It's
shows you like you better take advantage of it. That's why it's about January and February for the Buffalo Bills, and that's why there's legit concern right now. Look at the division. Miami's atop the division, and I tell you what, Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle. I know they got issues on defense. I mean, they're
you
figuring
know
out a running game. By the way, they're getting that together. But
well,
right
that's
now
the
in
two
the
things.
AFC, what
Yeah,
they have cooking on offense might be better than anything that any team has. I'd still take the Chiefs in the AFC, but when Tua's playing like he's playing,
their
like I
defense
like
is.
I'm so- like
You
they,
know,
they can beat anybody.
that's what we talked about last week for Miami. Like until they can show something on defense, are they a threat to KC or Buffalo? They're actually showing they showed up a little bit against a little bit I thought against Cleveland. I thought they made Chubb, they had to work. They weren't dominating the running game like Cleveland usually does, and that's a good sign for Miami. So that's another step in the right direction for Miami to build that defense because the
Mm-hmm.
offense, that coach is Mike McDaniel, man.
Well, when you
That's his
jump on a team 17-0 at halftime, like Buffalo did to Green Bay, go ahead and run the ball all you want. It does your run defense doesn't really matter if you
doesn't
give up
matter.
yards.
It doesn't matter.
And I mean Bradley Chubb, he had 3 quarterback hits when you're
He looked good. I
facing
saw
Jacoby
stuff.
Brissett. That's pretty good. When you know they're going to
Well,
run the ball a lot.
yeah.
They had 14 quarterback hits as a team. Wow.
I actually
So
still think that Cleveland, if that I keep saying that, and I don't like talking about Cleveland, but if they are a quarterback away from being a dangerous football team.
the Bills
But
are fortunate they're catching the last game of pre Deshaun Watson, probably, right? I mean,
good point. That's a good point.
they should take care of business against Cleveland and Detroit on Thanksgiving. In theory, are you worried at all about those 2 games if you're the Bills? No.
You got well, no, unless you something. To me, that's where something crazy, special teams, turn whatever football, how football is. That's how you lose those games. But there's no such thing as an easy game, especially for Buffalo right now. They just got to get a win, calm down. It's amazing what that win will do for you in the building for the team. It's you can lose 2 or 3 in a row. You think the world's over, and then you get that win. You get that win that you're trying to get. Stop the bleeding, and it seriously does change. It just gives everybody a chance to breathe again because
The
you
Los
start
Angeles
feeling.
Rams did not win a game in the month of November last year, and they won the Super Bowl. It's about peaking in December.
I can't stress enough that year we won the Super Bowl when I was working for the Saints in New Orleans. We lost our last 3 games of that year. Now we were 13-0. That was the difference.
Right. You just completely took my
It just
point
got a
and
little. It
just
got a little.
threw it in the
Yeah,
ditch, Jim, didn't you?
it's just funny. I just don't know if there's any that's why I don't know if there's a
Yeah.
right answer other than just get healthy and hope it goes your way because it's football is insane.
Yeah, I think Tony Dungy put it perfect. I think it was Dungy back when they won that Super Bowl and in '06. You think of all those great Colt teams that fell short, and that team is the one that won a Super Bowl, and their defense stunk a lot of the year. I think like Jacksonville ran for almost like 300 yards on them late in the season at one point. But as Dungy said, it's about being hot and healthy at the right time, and they
I
got hot and
agree.
healthy at the right time, right into the season, and the Bills can get to that point. If anybody can get to that point, hey, I mean,
Anybody.
you can go right down the list in the AFC: Miami,
That's
Cincinnati,
Baltimore.
Baltimore, Kansas City, the Chargers. I mean, who? Any of these teams could
Agree.
be that team that just turns that corner at the right time. So, Buffalo needs to, sit down and, examine themselves. You'd rather do it in mid-November, I suppose.
Long season. But this is good drama right now for us in for the media
Yeah.
talking. This is good drama.
I did get a chuckle. I mean, granted, we're surrounded by it here in Western New York. Like I think there's a whole generation of Bills fans now that the kids, all they know is success and winning, which is crazy. I mean, because I grew up in the drought, and yeah, I think it's weird for a lot of people to see this unit
Right.
struggle, but this is normal. I mean, this every good team goes through a period like this. And I think we've compared this team a lot to those 96 Packers, right? I mean, they went in as a Super Bowl favorite. They're on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Favre literally used the word Super Bowl or bust when he gets out of rehab for his addiction to Vicodin. Like, the expectations into that season were so similar to the 2022 Bills. And that 96 Packers team, if I remember correctly, I mean, they were just besieged by injuries. Like, Antonio Freeman broke his arm. He missed a chunk of the season. Robert Brooks tore his ACL. Edgar Bennett wrecked his knee. There was a point where they were down to like Beebe and Desmond Howard at receiver and Terry Mickens, and they lost at Kansas City. They lost at Dallas, which they always lost to Dallas. But to your point, I want to say they played at the St. Louis Rams, and like Doug Evans had a pick six. Favre had a crazy touchdown pass to Dorsey Levens. It was the Rams. The Rams, Tony Banks, they weren't very good that year, but the Packers won 24-9. They got some of their confidence back. And that, I think Ron Wolf has said repeatedly, like, that was the turning point for our team. Like, we needed to kind of fight through a rough patch. They got a little healthier. They get Freeman back. He's playing with a cast on his arm. It was incredible. But the Bills are kind of going through that moment. Almost at the exact same point of the season. I want to say that was like mid-November for the Packers too.
Yeah.
So if they get Poyer back, if they get, Rousseau back, if they can figure out whatever they have to on offense, that's the difference, right? Green Bay's banged up on offense. Buffalo isn't hurt on offense outside of the elbow. There's time. And maybe that game is Cleveland. Maybe Thanksgiving at Detroit. It can go one of two directions, right? They can get right against these teams, but if you lose to the Browns or you lose to Dan Campbell's, knee biting crew out there in Detroit, then it's major panic mode, probably, right?
Yeah, because it would be based on at that point. If that happens, now we have to look at what's going on in the division, what else is happening. Because if you're talking about that, yeah, they could be in jeopardy of. Which we never would have thought. I wouldn't have that they would not make the playoffs. That would be hard for me to even. That would be the extreme on the other end of it. I don't see it. I'm okay with it. I'm still okay. I still believe long season. I still think KC's making things look easy. And it's not. They're just that good. It's interesting.
He's your MVP, doing what he's doing without Tyreek Hill. I mean, I don't even think it's close. Patrick Mahomes is the MVP.
Look how good Hill is. Look what Hill has done for that offense in Miami. He's unstoppable, and KC just lost an unstoppable player, and they haven't skipped a beat.
Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney.
That's what I'm saying. They just brought Tony.
Looks good, but that's the Mahomes effect, isn't it? Like, that's why Mahomes is special.
Yep. He is.
All right, Jim.
Yep.
All right, you get back down there to that blackjack table and have some
Vegas.
Success for you.
It's a work trip, Tyler. I don't have time for it. This is a work trip.
Hey, underrated movie, Vegas Vacation. I know it got hit hard on Rotten Tomatoes. Great movie.
Greatest line. It's one of my favorite lines from every movie. Chevy Chase looked at his family and said he thought today would be a good day. Everybody has a lone day. Everybody do your own thing today. He said, okay, all right, have fun. And he just sprinted right to the blackjack table. But he called it a lone day. He's like, today will be a lone day.
There are so many classic lines in that movie. I love Cousin Eddie at the buffet, when they're, give me some of the yellow and the blue. And he goes, Clark, it's all you can eat. You only need one plate. He's looking at Clark like,
You're going,
you
so
an idiot?
you're
That's all
hitting
you
my
can. You only need.
wheelhouse. Yeah, you're going through my wheelhouse. A good. I'm a big Chevy Chase. Those movies are
Yeah,
vacations are special. Hey, real quick though, I wanted to let you know. I know I texted you yesterday, but I am enjoying your book so much. On my flight to Vegas yesterday, I'm really enjoying the the Ditkas that for those first couple chapters with the old school tight ends, man, because
awesome. Thank you.
I don't know a lot about those stories, and you brought out some good stuff. I just can't. I don't know, man. I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to see these modern guys, to see it transform. I like how you did that though, how it's kind of working its way to the.
Yeah, I
Mhm,
appreciate that, Jim. Thanks so
yeah,
much for diving in and hell, it was awesome. I know
yeah.
we've said it repeatedly on here, but
I just kept picturing you sitting in St. Louis with at that,
Jackie Smith.
yeah, like that had to be
It
for
was
you.
like sitting with my grandfather, Huey Dunn. It really was. I mean, one of the just most genuine human beings that you'll meet, Jackie Smith, in '82, where you can see how one moment, the one fleeting moment in time, like 5.5 seconds,
I know.
just psychologically
How do you come back
left
from?
bruises that took decades to really repair. I mean,
Yeah, you
it
brought that
affected
out.
him in a
I know.
profound way where he doesn't regret anything. I mean, he still looks back as at that year with the Cowboys at age 38, when he should have retired. I mean, he risked paralysis with the neck injury he had, and the Cowboy team doctor just kind of, rushes him through his physical because he had to get cattle off to auction, which is crazy. But he looks
Those
back at it
stories are like,
fondly. Like he loved Tom Landry. He loved the Cowboys. He caught a touchdown in the divisional game, I believe, against the Falcons, where that was huge. But one play, one moment that wasn't even all on Jackie Smith. I think I think we call that chapter the mindset because to work through that psychologically to set the course for the position in so many ways. So I think thanks for pointing that out. That was
cool, man.
a lot of memorable conversations and memorable trips. And I mean, my God, you're throwing drinks back with Shockey or hanging out with Tony Gonzalez and inside Ben Coates' home where he's beat to shit and just reliving the injuries and the pain with a dip in his mouth. There, some moments I'll never forget, but I think that one with Jackie Smith is right up there for sure.
That's what's cool that you were able to actually. That's what I was thinking about when I was reading this. It's like you were actually with these guys. This wasn't a phone call. This
Yeah,
because there is obviously that's what but that in person, you can't put a value on that.
you can't. I totally agree. Like even whether it's the blood and guts, I wanted to make sure I was face to face with these tight ends, not just research based or phone call based. Like be there if you care. As my dad used to always say, you have to. You gotta
Show
be
up,
face to
be there.
face
I
and
like that.
try to do the same thing and go along, right? I mean, got this Tua Tagovailoa story coming Friday, and hey, you got to get down there to South Florida. You got to talk to the people who know Tua best face to face. It's not something you can just do on a Zoom or on a phone call. So
No,
appreciate that. And hey, also we'll have the details at goalongtd.com, but we're gonna have 2 in-person book bashes. So the good folks at Fattey, Nick, Chris, they're going to open up their doors the Sunday after Black Friday. So
got it,
we're going to
got
have
it.
a hangout there. So coming out, we'll have some books to sell, to sign. Would love to have you there hanging out with us. And then I believe the following week after that, Mister's Bar and Lanes are going to have us in the afternoon. So we'll have the dates and times at the site, but would be great to meet people who are local here in Western New York, want to hang out,
It's.
talk about the tight ends, sign you a book. Hey, also Christmas is around the corner.
I
So
was
what
just
a
gonna
great
say, Tyler. Yeah,
stocking stuffer.
you guys know what you're doing by putting this out. Good time of year. Because it is. I was thinking it the whole time. I was thinking, no, this is perfect. Like I'm already thinking about who I can get this for.
Beautiful. Hey, I've got books. So you let me know, Jim. We'll load you up.
Do it the right way. You worked hard. You worked hard on that.
Uh, Thank you so much, man. And thank you everybody out there for reading. I've heard from a lot of people listening to the audiobook as well, Kindle, hardcover, wherever, however. Unbelievably appreciative because hey, I don't exist at this point without your support. I'm not I never want to work. Honestly, Jim, I don't know if I said this. I don't want to work for a corporation again. I go long is going to work long term. This podcast is going to work long term. Write more books because I just believe that people want to learn and want to read, and that they're willing to support it. So it's real and it's there. And when I launched this all back in November of 2020, I honestly wasn't sure. I didn't know people want to pay
Uh,
for stuff and support
Tyler, we were
journalism, but
sitting.
they do.
Our,
So I'm
Tyler,
lucky. I don't take it for granted.
our very first podcast, we were sitting in your house. I mean, we've come a long way just in that.
Yeah.
Just think about where, like right now, I'm in Vegas. You're at a coffee shop. I mean, we're still doing it. So you're
Hell
doing
yeah.
something right.
I love it. I love it, man. All right. Well, hey, let's we'll get this pot up and we'll make this happen in person when you're back on the East Coast, Jim. Have fun out there. Don't have too much fun though. I want to have you back in one piece.
My bank account needs to be in one piece.
Thanks, everyone.